JoJo's Bizarre Adventure has been considered as a top anime and manga in the community for a while now. And after viewing it, I would say that it's had its ups and downs, but mostly ups. With the upcoming English release of Part 7, Steel Ball Run, I just wanted to go over my experience with this whole series, because why not? I had a unique experience getting into this series, and I'm going to tell you all about it. For those who don't know what JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is, it's a story about a bloodline called the Joestars that gets into quarrels with the Brando bloodline. The main character on that side is Dio Brando, and these two bloodlines get into it in each part of the series. And with some parts, it's mainly just exploring characters on one or both of these bloodlines. So I first got into this series in May of 2020 during lockdown. At that time, only parts 1 through 5 were released in the anime, and since I had a lot of time on my hands, I thought I'd check the show out for myself. I didn't know there were so many memes of it before, so I was surprised that there were a lot when I finished the entire series. But let's dive into part 1, Phantom Blood. So part 1 takes place in 19th century England, following the death of a dude named Dario Brando. George Joestar, the father of Jonathan Joestar, decides to adopt Dario's son, Dio Brando. From then on, Jonathan and Dio have many friendly moments and many vicious ones together. A lot of people say Phantom Blood is bad, but personally I thought it was pretty good. I like the setup and the plot of Phantom Blood. I guess the reason why people didn't like it was because the other parts of JoJo would offer more in terms of storytelling, and would offer better characters. But me personally, I thought Phantom Blood did its job in terms of setting up the rest of the series. If you decide to watch JoJo, whatever anyone says, do not skip this part. You will regret it later on when you find an Easter egg or reference to this part. Now on to the second part, Battle Tendency, that explores Jonathan's grandson, Joseph Joestar. This takes place in the mid-20th century and follows Joseph's journey to defeat this powerful being called Cars. I honestly don't remember much from this part of JoJo. I like Joseph's funny moments, and I thought that him being a coward was pretty funny. Battle Tendency is just something I don't remember as much when thinking about JoJo. Mainly because the future parts are more unique in terms of storytelling, and it doesn't serve much in terms of the setup for future parts, but the intro is fire. Outside of Joseph, you don't hear much about the characters after this arc, but it was still a really good watch nonetheless. Now for part 3, Stardust Crusaders. Part 3 of JoJo's takes place a few decades before present day, and follows Joseph's grandson, Jotaro Kujo. Dio Brando has been resurrected, and Jotaro, his grandfather, and many other characters go on a long journey to Egypt to defeat him to save Jotaro's mother. This part is where we're first introduced to stands, which are like subconscious beings that are attached to certain people, such as the Joestar family, and each of them have special abilities that are used to protect the user. I really like Stardust Crusaders. It's by far the most intense in terms of fights. Now, I thought the fights with this part are some of the best within the whole series, but this part only focuses on the trip to Egypt and going up against Dio. There are parts along the way where the group gets sidetracked, but that's it. Stardust Crusaders, in my opinion, is probably the most memorable out of the parts because of the characters and fights, but I find that the plot is very straightforward. And I also find that future parts have better characters and plots, such as Part 4, Diamond is Unbreakable, which takes place in 1999 and follows Joseph's son, Josuke Higashikata, on his quest to find a stand arrow that grants people the powers of the stand. This is by far my favorite animated part of JoJo. The characters are all awesome, and I love the supporting cast as well. I do think that the art is a little bit better in part 3, but the art here is more colorful, and you'll see that in future JoJo parts, the series adopts this art style more. The plot is also the most non-linear out of all the parts, meaning that it's less predictable and has the most twists and turns. This is something that future parts adopt, and I think it's awesome. Definitely don't sleep on this one. And honestly, there's not much more to say because I generally love part 4 of JoJo's. I thought it was one of its best. Now, into part 5. Golden Wind, which takes place 2 years after Diamond is Unbreakable, and follows the son of Dio Brando named Giorno Giovanna, a 15-year-old in Italy who joins a group that's on a mission to protect a mob boss's daughter named Trish Una, and escort her to a safety point. This part of JoJo has a very great narrative. I like the characters too. There's just one big problem with this series, and that's the art. Some of these faces just look ugly, and it seems like a lot of things just look, ugly. Yeah, It's pretty clear I don't like the art in this part, but nonetheless, I still think part 5 was pretty good. There are better parts, but this one is definitely a memorable one. I don't have much more to say on this, just good old JoJo as always. Now let's get into part 6, Stone Ocean, the most recent animated part. This one takes place in 2011 and focuses on Jotaro's daughter, Jolene Kujo. She is falsely arrested for second-degree murder and serves a 15-year prison sentence. Later, her father comes and visits, and his stand powers are stolen, as well as stand powers of a lot of other people. And now it's Jolene's job to find the stand stealer and defeat him. A lot of people say this part of JoJo is one of the worst, along with part 1, but I actually enjoyed this part a lot. Stone Ocean is very different from the other parts in that it uses a unique location, a maximum security prison. It has a more complex plotline, and it has a female lead in Jolene Kujo. I thought the art was better with this part, and if this is how Steel Ball Run will be animated, I would be more than excited for it. Speaking of, Part 7, Steel Ball Run, takes place in the 19th century in another universe. It follows an aspiring horse racer named Johnny Joestar, who lost the use of his legs and participates in a cross-country horse race from San Diego to New York called the Steel Ball Run, where the prize is $50 million. This part is definitely one of the best in the entire series, and there are very suspenseful moments that will get you on the edge of your seat. Characters such as Gyro Zappelli are also very developed and are amazing characters. Steel Ball Run isn't animated yet, but I'm looking forward to the day when it does, because I believe this will be the best part in the animated series. Now, unlike the other parts, you don't necessarily need to view the prior ones to view this one, but it's definitely helpful since there are some small references. And now, to part 8, JoJolion. Honestly, I haven't viewed much of JoJolion, and to be honest, I can't really remember it too well. So I'm not going to go over it, and I haven't even touched JoJo Lands. But for anyone following from the US, that's pretty much it for the JoJo experience. I recommend anyone thinking of viewing this series to do so, because there's nothing else like it out there. I know a lot of people like to rank their favorite parts of JoJo, but I'm personally not going to do that because I believe if you want to watch or read this series, you should start from the very beginning and not skip anything. As you watch more anime or read more manga, you'll see that longer series get serialized for that amount of time for a reason. And usually the reason is good, making it so that these longer series are better than some of these shorter ones. So what are you waiting for? Go read or watch JoJo's right now. So to watch this series, you can do so on Crunchyroll, up to part 5. Then you have to go to Netflix to watch part 6. But if I were you, I would just stay on Netflix because they have everything there. If you want to read this series, almost all the chapters are on the Shonen Jump app. Other than that, that covers my bizarre experience of JoJo's. Let me know what your thoughts are on this series. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.